How's it going, guys? Midnight Rains here. Um, I wanted to go through the Ancient Fortress, uh, well, technically B1 through 6, um, but I want to focus on B4, 5, and 6. I know early game, you'll start getting through these, you'll be like, man, these are pretty easy, and you'll start getting to 4, and 4 is where it starts to kind of change. Um, an interesting thing is to take a look at the units, see what they do. A lot of these minions, um, these ones focus on like freezing, and then they're immune to freeze, and then they get extra damage on freeze. So it's important to have immunity. Um, B4, though, I know my units are a little better. I put this little team here just to kind of show you. And they don't exactly do much damage to my units, so it's kind of hard to give like a cool tutorial on it. But if like I go here and you want something that can like one shot, and so you just kind of one shot the floor. You can kind of continue over, and multi hit helps too. At least to me it does. When you can hit consecutively or um, just like hitting a bunch of enemies at once, I find it very useful. You'll notice these aren't even really my tank units, and they just kind of sit there. But, you know, one shots everything. Not too bad. Honestly, it's pretty slow, but it's a fortress. Um, in Fortress, you can only use one of each attribute, so that kind of makes it a little harder. B5 is really kind of where it shows the gear check. Mainly because you need multi-hit, because the max damage that can be inflicted is limited to 25% chance. And they start doing, these ones do poison damage and they're immune to poison, and then they start hitting and adding poison. So you need immunity for this one. Let me try to put something together here. I mainly just went straight to B6, but if I wanted to, see what I can do. Do like something like that, where it's just like really tanky, and then I could have Dynamis like right here, because I think the boss is mid, right? He's mid. So this one would probably be like really slow, and I'll end it if it's like taking forever. But basically, it just kind of has a little bit of cleanse in there, keeps the poison off. Just kind of put that there, and then with that, it puts freeze on them, and then they take burn damage. So you want immunity on your team for this, and usually CCs like burn can do a lot. You'll notice as they hit, they take double dots because of Frenzy. Stuff like Mirai would be really useful in this. I probably should have just used Mirai instead of Miho. It doesn't look like I'll need that much heal. I know my gear is probably a lot better, but it's just kind of like going through different ideas that you can do. This is especially where those light and dark giants are very useful. Possibly the fire one, if you're first getting through this. I know fire, you'd have the elemental advantage, and then he has a cleanse and grants a regular immunity. I think the immunity would stop this. Can't remember, what his does. I never really used him much, but he could be useful. Some other units that would be good are anything that's immune to poison, I guess, would be useful too, because all the main damage here, I mean, you look at these hits, of course, because of my damage decrease, but the hits usually aren't going to do that much damage. It's the poison that's going to hit you, because every time one of these hits you, they deal poison, which is kind of what I'm doing to him, except with like burn and freeze damage. And so I kind of beat him at his own game, and that's kind of how I came up with the idea. But it works really well. You notice they all just kind of burn and die. So this is like one of the cool ideas, and it's not limited. So the damage inflicted just kind of stacks up, which is pretty nice. What I mean by that is, like, there's no like Miho limit or anything, because it's PvE content, and so you don't have to worry about, oh my god, I have to hit like multi-hit. These are the kind of things where like Vampire shines, because they hit cross for like these major amounts of damage, and there's these units that can sweep, but they only hit once, and like a Rhodos, stuff like that. I mean, a Rhodos is still really amazing in Arena, but that's because of Confused and a bunch of stuff. But the stacking that up, you could probably do a team with I want to say Fermata and Vampire, but you can't use both in here. So maybe you could just use like Fermata with a lot of bleed. These guys don't stun, which is very cool. So you could probably do a nice tank in front and have Fermata apply bleed. Fermata's 5-star, so he's a lot easier to come by. And I mean, any decent tank. I mean, look at my what is it? My Dynamis. Of course, he's not taking too much damage really, and he hasn't taken a single heal. And he honestly has crap gear. I can show you. It's nothing fancy. I think I got like 4-star gear on him, and that's kind of all you need. You don't need like all this, you don't need this gear that you're thinking about that you need. You're like, oh my god, like 6-star equipment. Like, I need it so bad. Honestly, a lot of the players use 4-star legends, just because they have better stats. It would be a lot more useful to have a 4-star piece of gear that has better stats overall than a 6-star piece of gear. And so, that's kind of cool. We got a 5-star. Honestly, it's kind of crappy because it doesn't have subs. I'm at the point where anything that's a legend is worth looking at. Anything that's not a legend is not really worth looking at. So that's like kind of one of the cool little things you can do there. Just watch out for that 25%. The cool thing I like about dots is they get by that. Dots don't apply to the whole percent thing. So if you like that idea, you can do that. You can also just like straight up nuke them. If you do, it kind of applies to arena rules where you have to get by that 25%. Here we go into the lights. A lot of people have trouble with B6. It's mainly because of stun. The max damage also still 25%, and then stun, and they're immune to stun. What I do for this is very basic. Dynamis in front. Snowdrag and Mirai. You can use Elrai. I like Mirai better. Honestly, my Elrai is built better, but my for Mirai, she doesn't heal the team, and I like to use auto mode a lot. And so what she'll do is she'll cast to make the enemy burn when all allies are attacked, and then when all allies attack. And then it also increases the accuracy, unlike Elrai. So I like Mirai better, and she's easier to get because she's a 6-star. Not to say that a specific 6-star is easier to get. You could possibly even use this if you built... I don't have her, but it's this 3-star. That's the fairy. That might actually work if you had Dynamis, because she does the straight row that she's in to apply freeze. And so that's kind of the same thing. It just, the bleed does more damage. So that's another possibility. The main reason I use Snowdrag is because he's immune to the stun, like overall, and he doesn't have to cast it. And then in between everything, he just nukes the field, and then he has a cleanse, and now since they buffed him, he has a cleanse, plus he can give immunity for a turn. So that's kind of cool. So it's like an added immunity. So I got it on full auto, so you can see what goes on. My Mirai is not like 950 speed, so it doesn't exactly go first in B6. Maybe in the future I'll work on that. I mean, I'll probably have a lot better team by then, but for now I just kind of do this. It's slightly slow, but I think it runs around 4 minutes to possibly 6 if it like lasts really long. It depends how much the stun procs on there. I do have a little bit of evasion on some of my units, so it works pretty well. Again, I like to focus on the dots because I think the dots get by the 25% chance a lot better. Or not 25% chance. They're like where they can be inflicted by. So they just kind of attack each other and they die. And yeah, I mean that's about it for this. It's pretty straightforward. I know a lot of people can like speed nuke this. There's a lot of consecutive hitters, like people who use Sable in their back row, or Wukong. Wukong got that buff. I mean, he does amazing. I actually have used Wukong instead of Mirai on the 3-piece. It works pretty well too. I won't lie. It's really about the same time. I think Mirai is more consistent, so it keeps the time frame down a little longer. Cool thing there with Snowdrag is he also applies freeze. And I got some accuracy on him, and then of course he gets a 75% buff on accuracy, so he's most likely gonna land everything. Feels like it takes longer when you do this. I haven't watched it fully auto in a long time. I usually just kind of like, set the phone on the counter, or I'm doing something or talking to somebody, and I'll just kind of have it autoing on the down low. I think that's one of the other things that helps you keep up or play ahead, is you want that. You kind of need that too. I mean, you need to constantly play a lot. I mean, I'm not saying like avoid life, but you just kind of, if I'm playing PC or I'm watching a movie or something, I'll put it on auto, or I'll check my phone every once in a while after B6 runs in between, and just kind of let it do this. That's kind of one of the helpful things. So you're not just sitting here constantly pressing buttons. That was one of the things I focused on. Was everyone was focusing on manualing everything, and I was like, I have a life. I can't sit here and just click buttons all day, even though it's a fun game. I was like, I need auto teams. So that's mainly why I used 3 units in B6, was because I designed a better team that could work with 3 units. There's a bunch of other teams I did with 3 units, kind of like the Wukong version. I used to use Delo before I had Dynamis, and before I had Snowdrag, I used like Amioji, and then I pulled Wukong was like my first legend, so I used him in. I could clear mines in like 15 seconds, and that was really cool. That felt really, really cool. Everybody was like, "Oh man, still haven't beat B4," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, B4. That's a cakewalk." And then shortly, everyone caught up to me, so I was like, "Ah." But there you go. Kind of have it there. He's gonna cleanse, and then we'll see if Mirai goes and apply some more buffs, and he'll take some damage. The do note that the boss here, like when he hits with his special or whatever, he heals based on the damage inflicted. The cool thing about Dynamis is he barely inflicts anything, so he barely heals. That helps out a lot. I especially would recommend damage decrease rate. It's very helpful. If you had to, there's certain gems. I think they got to be legend though. I'll go over to. Oh, holy crap! It's that early in the morning. Logged in again. Trying to find the gems. Trying to find. Attribute resistance is very helpful. I'll go over to my Dynamis. And, oh, I do have 2 pieces of 5-star gear. I am a dirty liar. Okay. I'll go here. I've got, like, some kind of lame attack defense HP rune. And I've got a defense attribute resistant 5%, and then crit rate for no reason. It's mainly because I just needed this traded. It's a piece of junk, man. It's nothing to gloat over. I've seen a lot of 4 stars better than this. The 5 piece is nice. I won't lie. This one is like the main piece that holds the set together. Got 21%, and then it's a nice little HP rune right there. But it was all I had that activated this at the time, and so I just like stack anything to get this going. So yeah, I recommend blue and green gems. You want to make them tanky. If you can get more attribute resistance on there, that would be good. It just decreases the amount of damage you take and helps the team overall. Stuff like, my Mirai is like just kind of spare gear I have, and then so is where's my other one, Snowdrag. He's got not much either. He just got a little bit of speed. He doesn't even have like all his traits. He's just kind of got like some extra water attack gear. Technically, if I wasn't gonna use this guy anywhere else, I could throw on just pure nuke and speed, because he has no chance of getting hit. As with Mirai, eventually I could hit that 950 speed if I get a spare speed rune that will fit that slot. Um, would definitely be useful and would speed up the overall time. And that's kind of what it's all about, is speeding up your time that you finish these dungeons. Also, kind of on a side note, I know a lot of people are in guilds. They're very helpful. If you scroll over here, I think you gotta be like a level 5 or 6 guild. You can actually buy keys. I recommend buying these keys. In fact, I'll buy them since it's tomorrow. um, so yeah, I'll always buy those. I do. Saving for the legend and stuff, I don't find as, if you can do it, I said, but there's a lot of other stuff that's useful for buying, like the gold and such. And I'll get into that. But definitely buy those keys. I mean, they're free. Always check the market. That's kind of how I got my original speed equip. Like, I go down to Falcon, and that helped me in mines. And that's just, I mean, that was in the shop. I've seen 3 of these. 2 I was able to buy. The other one I wasn't. But, I mean, I was in the level 40, level 60 when I got them. So, super helpful, game changer. So, keep an eye out in the shop for those. And then, hope that helps with Fortress. If you guys have any questions about teams and such, let me know.